Welcome to the Curiosity Solution. I'm your host, Beverly Biehl. Join us as we explore the science of curiosity, share stories of people who've used curiosity to improve their lives, and maybe inspire some aha moments along the way. It's Beverly. Well, it's the Curiosity Solution, just me. I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of talk a little bit more about what it's like to deal with the curiosity of, well, working with two different calendars. So the Western calendar is the one that most of us are familiar with. We just had the new year. When this airs, it's going to be the end of January. So we'll kind of have already gotten through that first doldrums of, getting used to the new year and remembering how to write 2024, etc. Um, but when I started working with feng shui and learning all the different Chinese metaphysics and art forms, I had to orient myself to the lunar calendar. Well, the lunar solar calendar, because, well, the Chinese way of thinking does not depend on the same way of just that linear way that we're used to working in the West. Um, back in the day, one of the popes decided that they're going to we're going to be called they have the January through December calendar with very set time frames. Every 4 years, we get an extra day. This, in fact, 2024 is one of those leap days or leap years. So we have February 29th. So for all of those people who are born on the 29th, happy birthday. You finally get to celebrate it on your birthday. Yes. Um, the way that the Chinese work their calendar is it's kind of doing two things at the same time. So you have the lunar part where the way that the moon revolves around the earth. So that's where the months come in there. And then they have the solar part where the earth is revolving around the sun. And so that's why sometimes the dates for their calendar, for their new year, they don't line up with the Gregorian calendar. For example, this particular upcoming year, the year of the Yangwood dragon, begins officially, according to the lunar or their lunar calendar, it begins officially on February 10th. That's when they're doing all the celebrations. That's when they start the parties. However, with a feng shui way of working, the powers or all of the feng shui calculations um, are always based around February 4th. That's about as best of an explanation that I can give you, other than, well, that's just what my master taught me. So that's kind of what's happening right now. Um, so, what's interesting, though, about this next year is in the greater why next year you're going to see a lot of activity around this. Yes, there's so much, so much in the world that is happening. We've got wars, we've got famines, we've got elections, we have trials, we have, births, we have deaths. I mean, that's always going to be the case. Um, there's always going to be a lot of things, but we're moving into a cycle that is a lot faster. And that's why, it's important to just kind of understand the general feel, the kind of soup that we're getting ready to take a sip of. Um, in the 12 animal signs in the Chinese zodiac, the dragon is the only one that is not a real animal. The dragon has this mythical quality. It's often thought of as being very justice oriented, very focused on what's the word I'm looking for? Um, big picture. being able to see trends before they happen. The visionary, that's the word I was looking for. And the yang wood element is, well, think about a tree. A tree is very focused. It's very dedicated, rooted, usually really a lot of good strength. Um, sometimes can be a little too focused, and if they're not focused on the right things, can get a little but the dragon energy, the dragon month is the month of April. It's also a yang wood element just on its own. So then when you combine this particular wood element, this yang wood element with when it lines up then with the way that the five element system kind of moves around, now you have this double yang wood energy, which is going to bring a lot of people into alignment, whether they like it or not. Change is going to happen. It doesn't matter, again, we've seen pictures of like a boulder that will fallen on a tree that is as it's trying to grow. No matter what is on that tree, it will find a way to move around that rock, to move around that obstacle, to get back growing towards the sun. That's kind of, again, why there's that social justice, or that justice, ethical behavior, that it kind of comes naturally for this. Now, what is really cool, not cool, okay, let me back up. What's really interesting is, because of this justice, visionary, forward thinking, um, energy that is surrounded by the dragon energy, many in China, and those who are believing very strongly in this particular way of calendaring system, they want their kid to be a dragon. They want them to be born in the dragon year. The idea is that if they have this dragon energy in their Chinese astrology, then that makes them business leaders, titans of industry, that they're just naturally inclined to spot the trends before they become popular, so they can capitalize on that. It's very much of a wealth oriented, um, thinking outside of the box, that is going to make you a success mindset. I've had a couple of friends tell me that they're now having hard time getting in to see their acupuncturists, because a lot of women are, and men, because it's not, it takes two to tango. Um, but they're going in for acupuncture, specifically for fertility acupuncture treatments. Don't know if that's something you're concerned about, but there was a study that was done. I think it was done by Harvard. Now I should have written that down because brain is not remembering all the things properly. But they were doing a study on who, were the dragons, the people who were born in dragon years, were they more uh, were they actually those leaders? Did they actually show up and be those titans of industry, like, you were think like, they were expected to be? And they actually found that, yeah, there was a little bit of an edge if you had that dragon energy. Now, chicken or the egg? Again, a lot of times you live up to whatever the expectation you have, whatever if your family is constantly telling you, "Hey, you've got this edge over everybody else. You can do this, and you've just got an extra little lift because hey, you're a dragon." Um, is that living up to the hype? Is that part of it? So again, it's kinda like, ooh, nature, nurture. We got a little bit of a situation where you just don't understand what is the right answer. My thought on all of this is that there is a lot of that, nurture part. If you are truly believing that you are well, you're destined for the C-suite, then you'll take different steps and make different choices that will get you to that spot. Um, Now, the other thing too about this upcoming year, as well as, just being that leap year, combining with, this wonderful alignment that really only comes around every 60 years. In fact, so if you think about the 60 years ago, those people who were born in, was it 1964? Those people are the ones who are experiencing they're the last ones who were born in the Yangwood Dragon year. So think back to what was happening in 1964. We were having a lot of activity around preparing to go to the moon, getting, a whole new set um, of technologies had to be invented in order for that to happen. We were also gearing up for social justice, making sure that people were treated equally. Um, there it does, and whenever there's that kind of change, well, change is not always accepted by folks, so it can be very uncomfortable. Um, so for dragon years, because the opposite side of this, so the direction that is this dragon energy is associated with in feng shui is the southeast. So my thought is, if you think about what part of the America is in the southeast, that would be Florida, the coast, some of the southern southeastern states. Um, that can, maybe there's going to be some challenges there. I'm not sure. If you look at other parts of the world, you look at the southeast parts of those areas, could there be some more fires, more extreme weather? Well, yeah, of course, because we're in that cycle where there's a lot of extreme weather. Um, Now, in addition, because it's like, oh, it can't just be the one thing. Every 20 years, we also, and at least in the study of feng shui, there's this transformation from one 20-year block, one period, to the next period. Now, because there are 9 sectors in the feng shui bagua map, then it goes in this 9, this 9 cycle wheel. So this past 20 years, we were working through a period 8 cycle. Period 8, the number 8, it corresponds with the earth element. It also corresponds with skills and knowledge. The earth element in general was, it tends to be things like real estate, property management, medical fields, because again, earth also kind of rules health, um, like building materials, and natural resources. So, the earth, growing things, making sure that agriculture is supported. We saw a lot of transformation in the past 20 years with how agriculture is treated. We had a lot more protections come up for migrant workers. We talked, the organic movement became, I mean, not just a buzzword, but a requirement in many households. Um, many medical advances were made during this past 20 years, and I assume there's going to be, quite a few more. Um, but it was also about focusing on what kind of productivity are we going to have? So the mindset of, using some of these technologies to create more grounded way of working. The next 20 years is the fire element. The last time we had a period 9 cycle through was 180 years ago. So think 1844. If you think back and look at history, things were a little dicey back then too. there there were rather than going through and delineating everything, because I know I'd miss some things, I can just really speak mostly to was kind of the run up in America. We had, we were just coming off of the French and Indian War. We had 1844. Let's see what else was the run up to states' rights, and we all know what happens with that. Well, slavery as more and more states entered the Union, including Texas. In I think it was also 18. Oh my gosh, now I forget. And I even live in the state, but it was around this time when more and more states were being entered into the Union, and the fight over slavery, the right of states to say, yes, I can own another person, um, that was heating up. So, again, remember justice, fairness, doing things with integrity, big, big, big overall theme in fire element years in this period nine sector. Some of the industries that will be most affected in this particular cycle, which again, back the first time through, the telegraph get invented. So, now we've got all these AI things. We have a huge shift happening in fuel. How are we, we're slowly moving away from petroleum based fuels to more renewable resources. Um, Airlines, we were having a lot of news around airlines, and in fact, just I saw that there was a plane that part of the part of the body just fell off in mid-flight, and so there's gonna be some changes happening there, and we also saw new materials that most likely saved the lives of everyone on the board the plane that had a crash in Japan just recently. So, a lot of those kind of updates are happening. Um, Futuristic technologies. Can somebody say artificial intelligence? Yeah, there you go. That's really going to be ramping up. I mean, it's been here, it's been slowly filtering in, but it's still ramping up. Um, more unfortunately, the fire element also governs firearms and military arts and artillery. We're probably going to be seeing even more uh, conflict, more war, more death, more bombs, because it's about the explosion. Sometimes it's about not being able to control that hot headedness. We're also um, going to see a lot more with metaphysics, with astrology, with religion in general, with getting in touch with the parts of ourselves that function best when when it understands that we're just an aspect, we're not the aspect. We belong to a cause greater than ourselves. And that's what I'm thinking more about spirituality. That's where I'm thinking about how where I'm hopeful that we'll begin as a globe to understand that we are all interconnected. We are simply cells in one huge body. And we need to work together to keep this planet of ours and this society of ours as healthy as possible. Um, the other thing too that's really fascinating for me anyway, since I am of the affected group, is period nine, the number nine. It corresponds to the south direction. The south is called the fame and reputation sector. The fame and reputation is, it's all about, what are people saying about you when you're not around? It talks about entertainment, being able to speak, being able to perform. Um, but it also lines up with what they call the middle daughter. So essentially, women who are in that middle aged, that middle period of their life. It doesn't really say an age. And because of this, the expectation is over the next 20 years, there will be many, many more women in powerful positions. I, for one, think it's high time. Um, but there's, again, a lot of people who are not particularly enthused about that particular option because they feel they're getting pushed out. Some guys and some women do not think that is a good idea. I think they're wrong. And I think we're already seeing that there's a lot of folks that are they're ready for this. The reason why I'm kind of going into more detail around this period 9 transition and how it is impacting this next year, this 2024 year, is because what burns? Wood burns. And so you've got this big dose of fire energy coming in on top of a double yang wood element with the dragon and the wood year. 2024 will probably go down in history as being one of the more volatile years. And again, I'm not saying this to scare people. I'm simply saying it so that you can be prepared. So that when things get kind of wonky and move really fast and just don't feel comfortable, you're ready. You've been preparing for it. You know that this is not a year to just sit back and expect things to stay the same because they are not. What happens though when you burn a field, you end up laying down a lot of ash, a lot of charcoal, a lot of wonderful nutrients for the soil that can then transform that and turn it back into something new, something healthier. A big reason why many of the wildfires that we've had globally, why they've been so destructive, is well, sometimes it's simply as that we're building, too close to these forested areas without putting proper barriers between them and the homes. But more often than not, it's because good, proper, or good forest management practices were not followed. The forests benefit by having the occasional burn go through, and that cuts down on the weeds. It again gets that nitrogen for the soil, which then it strengthens the tree roots. So it's it there's a circle of life, y'all. Um, we cannot keep expecting things to stay the same, and we certainly can't expect things to go back to the way they used to be in the 1950s or the 1840s. It's just not going to happen, friends. It is not going to happen. So this the best advice that I can give you is because April, as I said, is the dragon month and the dragon year. Whenever there's the dragon kind of lining back up, it's like there's a spotlight on whatever's going on. So if you have that dragon in your Chinese astrology charts anywhere, expect transformation, sometimes abruptly, sometimes rudely, but sometimes just organically. Expect that change will happen. Decisions will have to be made, and sometimes pretty quickly. But again, because April is going to be that dragon month in a dragon year, make sure you just have stuff stored up. Plan for as if it's a big storm. Have some extra books around. Make sure you have your pantry stocked up. Have some extra water on board. Uh, just plan for something big because you've got a lot of fire. This fire element coming in with a whole bunch of wood. Dry kindling. I don't know if it's going to be explosive or if it's just going to be a really what's going to happen. But for me, for myself, I'm gonna be playing things pretty cool, around that late March, April through early May. I'm just gonna be playing things a little close to home. That's My personal advice, you can follow it if you like, and if you don't, that's all right too. It's all an experiment because, again, I'm curious, and sometimes curiosity can help you be prepared. Sometimes it's kind of fun just to hop on the tail of that dragon and see where you go. Thank you so much for your time and listening. I'll be back next week with another wonderful interview.